Good afternoon to you, Dina.
Good evening, Mahesti, and good afternoon to everyone who's watching us right now. Coming up with the political segment and the headlines in a moment, so stay with us. Egyptians vote in runoff round of the first phase of parliamentary elections. Worldwide coronavirus cases crossed 58.32 million, death toll at 1,385,595. And U.S. elect President Joe Biden to start naming cabinet picks Tuesday.
Welcome back. Egyptians started on Monday voting in the runoff of the first phase of the parliamentary elections. 220 candidates are competing for 110 seats in the individual system. More details in the following story.
Egyptians started on Monday voting in the runoff of the first phase of parliamentary elections. 220 candidates are competing for 110 seats in the individual system. Voters are expected to cast their ballots for 2 following days in the governorates of Giza, the New Valley, Fayoum, Bani Suef, Minya, Asyut, Bahira, Sohag, Qina, Luxor, Aswan, Alexandria and Matruh. The first phase of the elections was held for the expats from the 21st to the 23rd of October and locally from the 24th to the 25th of October. The vote is being carried out under a full judiciary supervision and amid precautionary measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. National Elections Authority announced results of the first phase. The NEA's chairman, Lashin Ibrahim, said that the turnout in the governorates included in the first phase was 28.06%, as almost 9 million out of 31 million eligible voters casted their ballots. The second phase was conducted on November 7th and 8th at a total of 9,468 polling stations in 13 governorates. The final results of the parliamentary elections are to be formally announced by the National Elections Authority on December the 14th. The Interior Ministry announced it had taken all measures to secure the vote. The ministry is implementing a comprehensive security plan to secure citizens during the electoral process. The plan includes intensive security deployments around the polling stations, all main roads, in addition to managing traffic movement to facilitate the voters' access to polling stations.
And welcome back. For more on the ongoing voting process in the parliamentary elections, we are very much delighted to have with us over the phone Mr. Raouf Ghaffar, our political analyst. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ghaffar.
To you, my dear.
Mr. Ghaffar, how do you see the state's determination to hold the elections while taking all the precautionary measures against COVID-19?
Well, it was a very sort of bold move from the government in the first beginning, just to take the decision of making all elections in the midst of the COVID-19. We started by the upper chamber and then election. So it was a courageous move, was very well thought of, and the first phase went beautiful, and now we are in.
Yes. Mr. Ghaffar?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Ghaffar, how essential is practicing the political right of voting to building democracy? I do believe that we are having a technical problem here. Thank you very much, Mr. Raouf Ghaffar, for your precious input.
And Egyptians abroad continue on Monday voting in the runoff round of first phase of parliamentary elections. Egyptians abroad sent their ballots by mail to embassies and consulates instead of voting in person as part of precautionary measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus during the voting process. The Foreign Ministry had urged expats to log on to the official site of the National Election Authority and make sure to submit all needed documents in their mails.
Egyptian women have been struggling for decades to make their voices heard as voters and candidates for legislative and elected bodies. As a result of the 2015 parliamentary elections, which completed the final step of the political transition, women's representation in parliament made a remarkable increase to 25%. More details.
Women gained their political rights in 1956. They probably could not have dared imagine how far they would get, but they would progress markedly as attested by their current representation in parliament. Females are running for 25% of the new parliament seats, a historic right for the country compared to 14.9% in the last parliamentarian vote. Currently, out of then 4,000 candidates for parliament elections, 347 women are running. A total of 303 women are competing for individual seats. The remaining 44 are on the electoral list of parties. According to Aziz Mohammed, head of National Council of Women's Training Department, only 19 parties from among 36 have listed women on their electoral list. Women's representation in the parliament of 2010 was 12.7%. Representation dropped significantly in 2012 parliamentary elections, hovering at around 2% their representation in 1975. She said that current percentage of women's representation in parliament is very reassuring compared to previous two sessions, which the number of seats occupied women have been counted on one hand. Egyptian parliament has approved an amendment in the article in constitution to allocate 25% of seats to women. The approval amendment came as part of their amendments approved via public referendum in 2019. Mahmoud noted that when female candidates are included on a party list, they have better than chance of winning. Saif al-Arab, or the Sword of the Arabs, joint military maneuvers continue on Monday at Mohammed Naguib military base in Egypt. The joint military exercise take place in the participation of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, Bahrain and Sudan. Its activities will continue till November 26 in the combat training fields at the military base, as well as the air and naval training areas within the range of the northern military region. The drill aims at enhancing the military cooperation between Egypt and Arab countries.
Egypt reported 351 new coronavirus infections on Sunday, bringing the total number of cases to 11,013, 27 people. Since the outbreak hit the country in mid-February, the health ministry also reported 13 new deaths, bringing the total number of fatalities to 6,548, while the government has called on citizens to adhere to the precautionary and preventative measures to confront the spread of the coronavirus and warned of the dangers of its second wave.
And more than 58.32 million people have been reported to be infected by the novel coronavirus globally, and 1,385,595 have died. And that is according to Reuters tally. Infections have been reported in more than 210 countries and territories since the first